This training session will be recorded and put into the Learn website. So the Learn website is our learning website. So this is mean you can find different informations about the website, about the documentations, about the performance of your website, and all the different information about the release, for example. Um, and yeah, and you have video sections, and into these video sections you will have your recorded training. So your recorded training will be in this block, or maybe I will put another way, but already right now you can see all the different training sessions we have since January of this year. So yeah, if you miss some things, maybe you can just rewatch all these different videos. So just let's begin. So I will send you by email all these different link you need. So for example, the learning website and the CM or CD website URL of your website. So we will just see what is it. So yeah, I will just share a few links so you can just begin. So normally the target is really to train yourself today. So you just train yourself, and tomorrow, if you have any question about the training session of today, you just can come back to me, and at the beginning of tomorrow, just say so you have a questions, and we can answer at the beginning of the training session of tomorrow. So first. So in Sitecore, we have two way to work. So we have the way is to work with if you save, it will be visible directly in your website, and we have another way we call the publish event. So this is something very interesting because this is two different way you can use a sidecar. And Adecco Group, sorry, just choose in fact the second way. So this is mean you have to do the actions to publish to make it visible to your different external user. So we make a big difference between internal user and external user. So internal user will be all the different user inside the Adecco network, and the external user will be all the different people in the World Wide Web. So here we have different schema. We can see different environments because we are working with different environments. So this is mean right now we are, for example, your website is in productions, but no modification will be directly in the production. So for example, you will not have new functionality directly in productions. So we have a process, and this process is like common for different companies too. So we have a development server, a testing server, integration server, and after we have UAT, QF like quick fix and productions. So all this stuff is very important because, for example, our developer will just push all the different functionality into the dev server, and after we'll push it to the test server, and we will have the test team. We just test all the different functionality to make sure we don't have issue. And after we have the branding team and the different functional team, for example, we just test like a user in integration. So just to make sure everything is correct. And after that, we have the UAT and the quick fix environments. Into the UAT, it will be, for example, a big release. So we will ask you for each different country to test all the different functionality. So we will present to you like into the release note. And after your target will be to test all the different functionality to make sure you don't have bug or all these different things in your website. And when we have the sign off of every country, we go to prod. So this is a process, the standard process of our network. After we have the quick fix, so the quick fix is a little bit different. Is for example, if you have urgent functionality, so the developer can build some things into, for example, a development server, and it will be tested directly in quick fix. And after we can push directly in production. So this is a faster process just for emergency functionality or all these different things. So this is just for knowledge. In fact, you don't really need to know all these different environments. The most important for a content manager is UAT, productions, and quick fix, because sometimes we will ask you to go to quick fix to test or UAT to test, and your production server will be the server where you will work. So it can be dangerous to work directly in a production server, but we are using a CMS, so content management system. And in this CMS, we have um, two different view. In fact, we have the back end view and we have the front end view. So into each of them, we'll have always a backend and a front-end view. So this is mean even if you do some change into your backend and you will see it in your front-end, it should not be visible into your public front-end view. So this is a little bit complex to understand, but so we have five different server and one is exceptions. And into each of them, we have two different view, backend and front-end. So backend is really where you will work, so where you will change your different article, pages, and images, for example. And frontend, it will be the results. So where you will see in fact, the website with all the different design, picture, and styles too. After, like I just say at the beginning, we have choose in fact the second way of Sitecore, the way to publish. So this is mean we have two front end. We have one front end into our internal network. So in fact, you can work just saved and check it if it's correct. And when everything is correct, you will just push it to your public website. So we can see different URL just below this small block. We have like we call the CM and the CD, so the management and the content delivery. So this is two different URL, and you will always see it. So for example, here we have this one, so it will be only accessible from your internal network, and after we will our CD will be normally accessible from your external network. In this case, this is UAT, and UAT is an internal server. Only our production server is visible for your external user. So this is how it's working. So our content management view, in fact, we call it pre-production server. So this is mean when someone from the support or maybe from the reload team or every team may ask you to check it in your pre-production environment. So this is mean you have to use your CM URL and not your CD. Because in the content delivery, we call it your productions and your CD URL, in fact. So this is so your URL, for example. So here you have your CM and after brand and country. So it can be, for example, cm-adecco-pl for Poland, for example, .adecco.net. So this is will be your CM URL, and after you have your CD URL. So this is the one. But all the different Adecco.net URL will be only internal. So before the go live, you can access to this URL to check your CD environment. After the go live, you will have your real URL. So here, for example, adecco.com. So it's a little bit confused at the beginning, but this is just for to have a security between what you can see and what your user will see. So you can check before, make sure everything is correct, and when you are really sure, you just push to make it visible to your live website. So CD URL and live website, it's exactly the same things. So our CM URL is a content management view. This is where you will bring some modifications. You will modify or add or delete some pages. You cannot access to your content management view from an external URL. So this is mean every time you want to do some modification into your website, you have to access to a specific URL. So this URL will be this one. So we'll take an example of, for example, I will take, sorry, yeah. So hope Adecco dash PL. So this is my CM URL. And after, like the documentation said, if I would like to go to my back end, because this is my front end, if I would like to go to my back end, I just type Sycor slash login. And here, just use your Windows credential. And you click in login. So just before, oh sorry. So just before to click on login, here you have an options box. This options just allow you to connect in another way. So this is by default, we use a content editor. So this is a view by default for content manager. Else, you can use the desktop. This is more for IT guys. And after the page editor and the launchpad, sorry, is deactivated for our version. So only desktop and content editor will work. And I recommend to use the content editor for content manager. So I just remove. So here we access, so this is the backend of Sycor. So just to remember, the URL will be cm-brand-country.adecco.net. So this is not HTTPS, this is really HTTP for CM URL. And your user password will be your Windows 1. And that's it. So this is Sycor 7.2. In this Sycor, this is like the old school Sycor. We have three different sections. The first one will be the ribbon on the top. We have the tree on the left side and the view on the right side. So all these different one is like require. It depends how you want to work, but normally we use all the three elements. So we will just go through the different tab into this ribbon just to make sure all the functionality you can have access. I will just remove some things. There we go. So here we have the home tab. In the home tab, you have the basic functionality like copy, duplicate, rename, display, and after you can just reorder your content into your website. So the duplicate actions and copy is a basic action. So you can handle this functionality with a right click into a specific element. And after the rename and display name would be the functionality you can only have access to there. So the rename you have access to, but the display name is different. For example, the rename will be here. I would like to have another name as home. So for example, I would like to have home 2. So I will rename it. And if I have a multilingual website, I prefer maybe to change the display name but keep the same name of my element. So it will still be home, but I can rename it to home 2 in French and home 3 in Poland, for example. So after we have the hop down and first last, so this is not really useful because you can just do a drag and drop. So if you want to reorder your different elements, so we will see why do we need to reorder our elements. So yeah, I just forgot. If it's gray, so this is me. You don't have the right to do it. So this is like logical. You don't have the right to delete the whole platform. For example, even move to and duplicate. So after we have the navigate tab, so we don't really use it for one reason because all these different actions can be handled with the right click and drag and drop. But for example, if you don't want to click on the plus sign, you can directly click in open and it will directly open your different folder. But I think in the tree it will be easier, so we just see after. So we have the review tab. So the proofing we are not using. So we handle that by Google Analytics, for example, and maybe Bing's for other one. And the only one we are using is my item with the lock category. So this is because into Sycor we have a locking system. So if you are modify specific pages or specific component, so we will see after what is it. You can lock it for you. So this is mean another user will come on and cannot bring some modification because you're already on and you lock it for you. So here this is a easy way to unlock all the different item because we will see after sometimes you lock many different item for your user and after nobody can modify it. So the Analyze tab is even for the different review informations. It will be available, so you can see some report. You can set up some goal, but it will not really working because this functionality is the default one from Sycor, and we are not using it because we just handled that by other tool like Analytics, Tag Manager, and maybe some other tool your country use. So we have the Publish tab. So this is important tab because you will always go inside this because here we have our Publish button. So this is this big one. So this Publish button is this step. Is to make your website or your change visible to the public website, to the live website, in fact. So you will just click on this one and after publish it. So we will see after how publish to your website. So after we have the page editor and the preview, so this functionality is not optimized for our platform because we have a specific platform and custom platform. But you can just view the restrictions, different restrictions to your different item and pages, and you can to view the publishing viewer to see who modify and when. So we have a versions tab. Into the versions tab, you can add the versions to your page. So just for one thing, Sycor is it's a versioning system. Sorry, it's a versioning system. So this is mean you can have different versions for the same page. So for example, you do a Christmas page, and you don't want to lose your change, and you want to make a I don't know a Halloween page. You just need, in fact, to create a new versions, and after later you can go back to your old versions. So even for if you modify an article and you are not sure if your modification is okay, you can just create a new version, and if it's not, you can come back to the last version. So it's really recommends to create version each time you modify a specific element, because if there are any issue, we just can go back easily. So here you can compare the different versions to see what is the difference. And here we have the add and the remove, and there is to see the different version. So we have the English flag just here. So by default, when you log on into Sycor, you have the English flag. So this is very important to know because your website is not using the English languages. So this is mean each time you log in for the first time into Sycor, so every morning, for example, you have to change this flag to make sure this is a flag of your country or the languages where you want to modify your different element. So here, for example, for Poland, I will just change it. Here we go. After we have the configure page. So I don't know if you have this tab, but this is really technical tab. I don't need to have access to this one for content manager, in fact. So even if you have different things there, many different this item will not work. So I really recommend to not use this configure tab. So after we have the presentation, so this is really important tab because you will use very often, in fact, because we have the layout details. So Psycore is built with some block with some sections, and this is where you can just edit the way this section is displayed into your page. So for example, if I go back to your front end, so here we can see different sections. So for example, my header, this search part after this different tree and all these different elements. So we can see different sections, in fact, into the page. So we have different buttons too, but we can handle all these different buttons into a right click. So the Reload tab, you don't have it, and after we have the view. So the view, it depends how you work. So I'm used to use the tree to navigate into the website. So I know other people prefer to navigate with some element into the page. So for example, here's the media library. So if you want to have the media library into the tree, you just need to click on entire tree, and you will have. So after it depends how you work. And the header and standard field have to be unchecked because else you will have maybe sometimes some functionality who's not working because this is hiding item. And to finish on the ribbon, we have the My Toolbar. So this just allows you to customize it. So if you want to have a custom toolbar, you can just customize it directly there and put the most important button there.
So, Jimmy, quick
Yep.
question. So, can you just go over the View tab again, please?
Yeah.
So, I just did.
So so by default, normally you have the content tree already checked.
Yeah.
And after you can click, in fact, in the entire tree for just to add a media library there, because I'm used to have everything in the tree. After it's up to you, in fact, because we have the link in the bottom. So I prefer to have it there, and this is a way to activate it, in fact. After the other checkbox should not be checked because it can just bring some functionality who's in fact not exist. So that's why.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So yeah, here into your toolbar you can just bring maybe some different item. For example, you want to have the edit button in my toolbar. We just click in customize and search your edit button and add it. So this is if you want to have a my toolbar. So like you just see here, I don't have it, but I know there are some content managers don't prefer to have only one toolbar and all the different functionality inside. After it's up to. So now the tree. So here we are our tree just there. So we just maybe no, we let media library. So it's always built in the same way for Psycore. So here we have Psycore content and home. This different folder should not be modified. So even if you have rewrites, I don't know when, you should not modify this different file. After we have the Adecco group folder, and inside this Adecco group folder, we will have all the different websites who you have access to it. So for me, I have all different brand and all different websites because I have the right to modify whole different website. But normally for you, you should not just have access to a specific website or maybe few websites. So on our case, this is Adecco Poland. So we go to Adecco brand, and after Poland here. So it's always in the same way. So always you choose your brand, and after you choose your country. And after when you open a website, you always have the same structure as home, site data, and settings. So this structure is really important because this is a way to organize your work. So you are not You can in fact do on another way, but this is the best way to do. And all the different country like France, UK, Spain, and Switzerland, for example, are doing it this way, and it's working fine. And after, when you do something specific, so for example, you prefer to have, I don't know if a home handles the side data, or you want to recognize this tree. So normally you don't have the right, but even if you have the right, after if the supports come to your website to help you to just remove a bug, they cannot do it because they don't know how to navigate into your website. So that's why it's very important to keep the same structure as right now for these three different elements. So we have the home. So we call these different element item. Um, so here we have the home site and settings item, and into this item we have different informations. So here, if I'm clicking home, um, I have my view on the right side just appear. Um, but after I can see if I'm clicking inside that I don't have a lot of information because we make a difference between a page and a folder or a data. So my home is an item and my site data is a folder. My home, in fact, is my home page. So here, okay, my home page, in fact, is my home page of my website. So here, for example, this is my home page. So I have all the different information into this element. After, if I'm go to view all jobs, I can see here authority privacy, for example. So I know if I'm just expand home and search authority privacy, if I'm find it, I'm on it. Here, this is as the item of this page. So you can see now how it's working. So you have your home page, and there you have your sub page, and you can go again under this one. So normally you don't have this type of element because this is not the way to do for the to have different search bar. For example, to do these things, we used to use a microsite. So we will see it tomorrow because this is a big functionality. But here, I directly know this is not the good way to do, but this is working. But we can see here if I'm taking this one, so I just copy the text and add it at the beginning, I can see another page. Who's not working? So this is how the tree work. After we have different things is sorry. We have different things is the site data. So the site data is where your data will be. Um, so like I just show you the different structure of your different pages. So when you go to your job search page, you just go to your specific category. This is a structure, and this structure can be and have to be handled under the home folder. But after, when you want to add some data, for example, this text is some data into your website, we go directly to the site data, and here we can find the home folder and the share folder. And if I'm just expand the home folder, we can see exactly the same item as, or the same name as the different item of home. So here I have my contact, for example, page, and I can find my contact page there. Inside each folder, we have a component folder. And into this component folder, in fact, we will add components. So, for example, this text is a component, and maybe this text is another, or this functionality here is another component. So this is mean into an item like a page, you can have many different components. By default, in fact, to be more easy in Sitecore, our component is sections. So each time you have a component, you have a sections. But you can do many components into one sections too. So this is all working. So we have an item, and into this item we have different components. And into these components we have some text. So here, for example, I have my, if I go to my contact page, so here I have a contact page. I can see welcome or help center, and my help center will be, sorry. So here I have exactly this box. So this box, just this one, is in fact this one. So we have a body, and into this body we will put, so we will see this component later, but this is all working the tree, so to find the different components for your pages. So that's why I'm just telling you it's better to do in this way. So because if I would like to put this apply in another folder, so I can do it. But after, if I would like to make modifications and I don't know really the website, it will be very difficult to find the different element. So that's why the organization of your website is important, to follow the same one. So after we can help different website easily. So this is the tree of the site data, and after we have the home and the chair folder, and into the chair folder will be all the chair elements. So what we think about chair is just when you need to have the elements shared, like, so this is still data, but here, for example, we have the navigations. Here we have a test link, for example, resources, about us, and all these different things. All these different links will be into the chair folder because this is shared between all the different item or pages. And even for salary frequency and all the different things, this is shared because different pages are using it. So this is just a structures too, so you can move it to another folder, but this is where we put it. And we used to put all the different form into the chair folders too. Even if this form is only on one page, we put it in the chair because maybe a contact us page can be used for a specific page and another page too. So we never know. So we put the form folder into the chair ones too. And to finish, we have the settings. So the settings is more a part we will just see tomorrow. So today we will just see basic functionality like header, footer, and all these different things. But else, all the big functionality of our site core is inside these settings, like the job search, like the branch locator, and sorry, and the languages settings, because I can see here for Poland we have two languages. We should or we should not, I don't know. But here this configuration just mean we have two languages, for example, even if it's the same text. So this is where if you want to add languages will be there, but normally at the beginning of your website, the team already set up your website correctly. So this is all working our tree, and after we have the same things on each time you click somewhere, you have the result on the right side into the view. In fact, we call it the view. So here into the view, we have all the different elements. When you click on somewhere, this is the result. So just be careful again, make sure the flag, so this flag or this flag, is the correct one for your country. So here we have different shortcut. In fact, the first one is to navigate faster, and for me it's not faster because you have to find it, but anywhere. After you have your flag, country flag, so it can be very interesting for multilingual website and for to check if you are in the correct languages. So here you can just go through another languages by clicking on, and after you have the version number and who modify for the last time. So after we have the media library, so the media library is you have two ways to access to it if you activate the view and directory. You have the media library directly on the tree, or you have it on the bottom, you have media library. So it's exactly the same things. So into media library, we have different items. So at the beginning, we have Adecco groups, like for a classical website. And after we have file, images, and module folder. Here we can see two different files. This is global file, so you don't need to touch it, and you should not touch it. So when you want to add a media, you should never put under media library. First, you have to find your folder. So your folder will be always your brand and your country. So here I will go to Adecco groups and after brand. So global, even global should not be touched by a content manager because this is a global settings or a global media part, sorry. And here for Adecco, it will be Adecco Global 2016. So this is an exception for Adecco. I don't know why this is this name. And after here, you will just find your country. And only when you are in this country, you can do everything you want, in fact. But you should not put different images in another place, in fact. So here we have our four folder. So this is four folder by default. This is a good example. So we have the CSS, GS, fonts, and media folder. CSS and GS, this is a real one, so you don't have the global one. So if you want, so we'll see that tomorrow about the CSS and GS. Um, but you can bring your modification into Sidecar, but these two different folder. Even for the font, so you can bring some different fonts into your website. And else, we have a media folder. This is where you will put all the different images of your page. So to add an images, we will not do normally directly there. So normally is when we create a specific element, for example, a component, and we would like to have an images into it, and our images is not existing, so we just need to add it into the media library into our component. So this is all to show you how it's working, but else normally we don't use it to add images. You can use it. So for example, if you want to use to maybe to upload some PDF or upload some documents or maybe images. But it's not a good way because if you do in this way, it will be very difficult to find it after into your article or your different component. So one thing's, this is some things to remember. So I know things 1 month or 2 months we have this issue, so we don't know why exactly. But just to prevent all of you, is for example you are into your home folder, so you see your different images. So be careful when you have a warning. This is mean, yeah, the alt field is empty and in HTML is required. But anyway, so here you have your images, so this is fine, and if you go in this folder, this is fine. But sometimes you publish your folder because you want to make your images visible to your live website, and it's not working. So make sure when you click on content here to have a versions for Poland, for example. So in this case here, this is mean if I'm publishing the website in Poland, it will not work because I don't have versions. So here in this case, I would just need to click in add new versions and add new versions. And after I can publish and it will work. So sometimes you have to check it. I don't know why, and we don't know why. I already reported to the support, but you have to check sometime when it's not working for media. This is really not every time, but sometimes it's not working, and this is the issue. So, do you have any question about media and the website and all the different elements I just presented into the tree?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Do you mind just going over the last bit again? You remember you saying about the bit to remember and making sure that you have a version
Yeah.
when you want an image to display to a
Yeah.
page. Can you just go over that one more time, please?
Sure.
That's fine.
So when you publish an item or images or everything you want, when you publish it, you have to get a versions because, like I just said at the beginning, Sycor is a versioning system, and for a versioning system, you have to get a version 1 because by default you don't have versions. So normally, the team when they install the website already do it, and normally it always in the version 1. But
Yeah.
sometimes, in fact, is we don't know why exactly, but sometimes you lose your version, so your images still exist, everything still exists, but you lose your version, and when you publish it, it's not visible for the live website. So
Right.
this is just a quick win, in fact, is when it's not working, so you know why exactly now,
Yeah.
and you just need to go to Content tab and add a new versions.
Hmm.
Just be sure you have the correct languages,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's it, yeah. So this is an issue I see like 1 month ago now, and it's
Mm.
still not fixed. So I don't know why, but yeah, this is like a tips I just give to you.
Okay.
So else we can go through more interesting things is for example we are Adecco Poland and we will just try to create I don't know, maybe a page. We will try to create a page. So we go to the website there. Oh, I right click in home, insert, and here I have different items. So this is all the different items. So first is why I'm clicking in home. Because I just want to add some things under home. So this is a way to do. So you click into a specific item to add some things under it. So here I would like to add some things under home. So I just right click on, and here I have insert, and I have all the different item available. In my case, I would like to add pages. So I know because by experience, the page into Adecco is the one column. But else, if you want to know why exactly, because Sycor is built for all the different brands. So this is mean into one Sycor we have Adecco, um, we have Modis, Bannock and Clark, Spring, Euro Engineering, and LHH, and all these different things is under only one Sycor. So this is why it is important to understand. That's why we have different type of page. So one, two, and three column is pages. In fact, is an item to make pages. After we have different elements like blog, calendar, and all these things. But in our case right now, we need to create a pages. And if I go to the documentations, for example, and I think is column 30. Oh, nope. Yeah, pages. So here you have so this is a documentation and you have a small explication in YouTube. And after, I think is pages, yeah. Here we have a small tab with all the different elements. So why exactly we have this one column. And here we can see all the different type of page. So Adecco only accept the one column and not accept the other one. And after we have all different information per branding, in fact. So here I will click in one column and I will rename to test training. So first, when you want to edit some things, you have to lock and edit. So this is mean I will block this component. Sorry, I will block this item only for me. So even if you guys just go on and try to use the same with the same languages to modify it, you cannot, in fact. So I will click in lock and edit, and there I will have this item just locked for me. After you have access to different parts into these pages, this item page, so we have a body section. So the body section is a Sycor default value. So you will have in many different item and components. So in our case, I will just complete it so to show you all working in pages. So here we have a short subject fixed and edit HTML. So if you are very good to edit HTML, you can use it. But else, we still have a show editor. So this is useful maybe if you want to modify an article on something like that. So here I can say, oh, yeah. And after I can change to heading 1. I would like to center it and put it in bold. So, so this is basic thing. So for right now, I will just test this. So I will accept in the bottom. And after I will create other pages and I will show you how integrate other things. After we have the metadata informations, so this is SEO1, so you can change the title directly there. So this is required information, so you have to fill the metadata title and descriptions. So here I will put test training and whoa, and descriptions. Here we have the meta robot information, so I can say, for example, no index and photo. You can change header space to body space. Be careful, this is uh, free space, so this is mean when you type something there, it will be exactly the text you type just there into the web page. So normally by default you don't need to use it, but yes, you can. After we have the canonical URL, so this is only when you have duplication. This is where you can set up the canonical for these pages. Meta robots field, this is not used since V8. I don't know why they're still there. So yeah, this field's not working. And after we have the navigation title. So this can be the title of your pages for the navigation. But for Adecco, we are using another way to do the navigation. So we'll see just later. I don't know if it's today or tomorrow. It will be tomorrow. So here, for example, I can put it. This is better to put 1 because after you can know exactly what is it. Um, if someone rework on the page, you can know directly how it's work. After different settings, if you want to include it in the sitemap, to the navigation, breadcrumb, and footer. So one thing to know, you cannot include two navigations from Adecco brand, and even for footer, you cannot integrate in the footer because both for Adecco brand is really different. So you can let it or you can uncheck it, but in both way it will not work in fact. So here we have the web page header option, so you can override the site level header. So this is really when you know what you are doing, you can do it, and else you can just break your page. In fact, if you don't know, so be careful when you are using this type of options. So after we have the page type settings, so this is something interesting because here, for example, we have switch to employer's view, and even if I go to here we go. So even if I go to the UK website, we can see two types, different type. Are you a candidate or are you an employer? And in fact, this is where you will set up the type of the page. So if you want this page for a candidate or if you want this page for an employer. So like you just see, we have a universal options. So universal is, for example, a contact page will be universal. If you want to have the same contact page for employer and candidate, so you will put universal. And when you put universal, you have to put a default type. So if this person go through, for example, Google search and click directly on the page, so which type will be the one by default, in fact, because we don't know before where he come from. So this is always working. So and after here, here's an employer's page. So this field is not working because we are using this now, but it's there. You can change your priority value for the XML. And here shows the shoulder chair and the required SSL should not be changed. This is the default value. So this is all working a classical page. And when you have done, you just click into saved. Oops, saved. So even the Control S shortcut into the keyboard will work. And after I will just take the name of my page. So, and after if I'm doing that, I see my page with my hello world. But for example, in this case, so I cannot see the website of Poland, but this page in fact is not visible in the public website because I just did a save button. So this is visible into internal network, but this is not visible into the live network, so on the World Wide Web. So this is the first step. So now we'll just show you the way we are doing the pages, because here, for example, if I would like to add more elements, so I have to directly modify this and put more elements into. But how I can do for to have something like this page with different elements, because this is complex in fact. So for that we are using components. So when you are using components, you are not using the body section of your page. So I will just remove it and be sure this is removed. And I go directly to site data and home folder, because this is where you put your different component. So here I will just search my test trading folder here and into my component so I can expand it, but I don't have any component. I will right click on and insert, and here we have Spotlight. So we have different component, but Spotlight is like a free component, so you can put everything you want inside it, and all the different section of a website in UK or in Poland or France, Italy, Spain are built into a Spotlight too. So here I will click on. You want to save your change? Yes. And here I will put Spotlight test 1, and this is my Spotlight. So normally by default when you create some things you have directly a locked item, so nobody can edit it. I don't know why, if the page was different. Maybe a bug. So here we have a different section of Spotlight. We have the title sections, body, footer, background image, snippets, and theme on the bottom. We have supported CSS style, but this is not uh, important right now. So all this section is working in fact. So here I will just show you if I fill everything. So here title, the body I will put body, heading 1, and here in the footer I will put footer. For example, after we have the ability to add a background image, so the background image will be something like this, or maybe this, for example. And we can have a snippet image and a theme. So the theme is very important. For example, there we can see gray background. So into the theme you can see gray, dark gray, for example. We have light gray too. And if you put in images, you have to select the home banner or the top banner, because this is the only two theme who allow to have an images background. So yeah, I will try to put one. So go to. So this is my image library. So I click always in both every time to refine my tree, and after Adecco global banner. and this one. And I've selected one top banner. And when I've done, I just click Insert. Yes. Here we go. So here now, I just create my spotlight and save it. So I don't know why the save at first time was not working, but now it's working. So now I have my components. So I create my page, I create my components, and now in fact the next step is to link both. So this is mean to bring my component into my page, because right now if I'm refreshing these pages, I will have nothing. So by default I'll always have the header and the footer, but I don't have content inside it. So that's why now I will go to my page, my test page, who's here there. And now this is the first step to adding a spotlight or adding a component is presentations. So I will just change the way or my page is displayed. So presentations and here layouts details. So this is the step to add a new component into your page. Can be a spotlight, can be a jobs carousel, or it can be everything. But every time you need to add something to your page, you have to go through the presentations details. So there, have to edit so my layout. So I will just edit it, and I will take controls. And here I have all my different elements of my page because by default this is the different element I have. But for me, I need to add a spotlight to this page. So I will click in Add, and here we have rendering, and after Adecco groups and global. And I will search spotlight here. The placeholder can be two things for Adecco brand. It can be content column, like this, for example, or it can be body. If you want, content column is a boxed element and body is a full width element. So I have a background image, so I will put body to have a full width element. If you need more information about the placeholder, for example, same step, you need to go to the Learn website. In the Learn website, it just explains to you how are working the different placeholders. So here we see all the different placeholder of Adecco branding. So here I will click in select. So here by default, every time you add some things appear on the bottom. So I don't want it into the bottom, so I will just move it under the breadcrumb. So even if you put your spotlight before the header, for example, your spotlight will be not visible before your header. So I think it's good to see how it works as a placeholder in Adecco, for example, in the documentations, to see exactly how working the different placeholder. So here I have a body placeholder, and I know after breadcrumb is working. So, oh, what I'm doing. Oh, so I was there. So I have my spotlight there. So this is the first step. So now I tell my screen, my layouts, to add a new component into my page. And this component have to be linked to my real data. So I will double click on to, in fact, configure this element. So I will click in Browse, and here I will just search my Spotlight I just created. Put on site data, home, test, component, and my Spotlight test. And I click in OK. So there I have my data source of my component who is set up, so I can click in OK. So every time you add a component, you have to do this step. So you can create many components and after maybe go to the details layout and modify all of them directly. But every time you need to add a new component, in fact, you have to set up it into your layout details. You have to tell the page this is working another way, and you have to go through the different site data and all these things. So this is a step each time you add a new component into a page. So when it's done, you just need to click in OK, and after I refresh, and I see here my body and footer and my title have to be somewhere. I think this is a CSS. Yeah, I think this is a CSS, but this is somewhere. But yeah, we see now. So this is just CSS things. So every time you create some things into a Spotlight, into the HTML or some things, the branding CSS, the branding style, we directly apply the different elements. So here, for example, when I put H1, so heading 1, it just applies Adecco CSS for H1 and even for H4 and for my title. So normally we are not using title because this is not useful, I think. We are just using the body. Yeah, Mark, you have any question?
Sorry, Jimmy. You're breaking up a little bit there. I kind of lost for maybe about 20 seconds.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I will try to maybe remove
So
my Wi-Fi.
up to the point where you're talking about CSS, and sometimes you get a CSS error, but then yeah, the connection got a little bit funny. It was a bit fuzzy.
Okay, now we'll just recap again.
Okay. Hello.
Yeah, you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I don't know
perfect.
if he's talking because I didn't hear anything.
So I just remove my Wi-Fi. I just put the network by wire. We will see. So
Okay.
yeah, in fact, is when you do some spotlight, different spotlight into your website, you have directly the default style of Adecco. On this case, will apply to your different elements. So for example, here we have our body and footer, who is H1 and H4, and by default they are red, in fact, but we don't set up red at first. So this is just because the style of Adecco just applied directly to the standard element. So this is useful because sometimes you need it because you don't need to change the fonts of your different text or the different things like that. But this is useful. But after, so this is things cool, but after we have some things less. It's just here, for example, the title is not visible because for Adecco we are not using it. So this is why sometimes some element from a specific component will not work because, like we said, this is not branded, and this is not work for this branding. So, for example, for Adecco, we have some few components who are not working uh, because it is not branded. For example, to have a sidebar on the left side or in the right side, this is not branded. So even if you try it with the documentations, it will not work because the branding do not allow to have a sidebar.
Okay.
So I will redo this step just to show you again how it's working because I know this is a little bit complex to have access to have to understand. In fact, this small step. This is a step of working our different elements. So I will just recap. So we have our test training,
Hmm.
and I need to add a new component for my page. So I would like to add a new component under it. So I will go to again to my test training folder into my site data, and I will
Yeah.
add just a new component here, just Spotlight, for example, test 2, and I will do some other things like, for example, view HTML.
Hmm.
So So this is view HTML. I will just ask for, sorry,
Yeah, it's a big shot.
and that's it. So now, like you just see, I can create column, in fact, in directly in HTML because we are using the call of the CSS class of Bootstrap. So we don't have the whole one, but we have the minimum version of Bootstrap, and we
Yeah.
are using two the jQuery versions too. So here I will just save it, and I will try to add it again to my pages. It's training. Details because I would like to change by layouts, controls, and here I will add a new spotlight. Spotlight here. And in this case, I will choose the content column one because I don't need a full width. I just need a boxed one. Content column, and I select my spotlight on the bottom. So I just need to move it a little bit, and to select it, I will just double click on, and I will link my data to this component. So here, Adecco, and when it's done, I just click in OK and OK, and if I refresh, it will work. So this is why, in fact, I put my elements on the bottom and why, in fact, is on the top. This is a little bit
Yeah.
strange. For one thing is about the placeholder. So here I can see my placeholder content column is before my body. So even if I put my body before, it will be always in the same display. So this is mean if I would
Hmm.
like to have some things before my content column, I have to choose maybe a full width top or something like that to be before. So it's a little bit difficult at first, but after it's very simple to use.
Yeah.
Um, test. So this is the first things is to create a page. So this is a way, in fact, to create a page and add different components. Even if you need to modify different components, this is the same step, but in another way. But here, for example, if you would like to change the contact page, you can just see at first in the details how it looks like. So here I can see I have 5 different spotlight, and by default, the
Hmm.
spotlight is in the correct folder. So this is a contact page. So I go to contact folder, and here I have all my different spotlight, in fact. So it's
Yeah.
always the same step. When you need to modify something, it's always the same. The only different is, so that's why I'm telling you this is very important to respect the organizations, because just after it's really easy to refine your different components. So that's why for me it's important.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So here now we just see how create this page, for example, but now we have to modify, I don't know, maybe the header or the footer. This is some things important when you want to customize your website at the beginning. And
Yeah.
so to do it, you have to go to, so just close everything. And for Adecco brand, when you need to add a new link, in fact, you have to go to the site data and share, and here you will have navigation item. So
Mm-hmm.
this is really important item because this is the only place where you can modify the text and the different elements. So here I have my maybe an example. I can see my resources and my test links not working. So here I have test link. I can see test link. I don't have URL inside it, so I can maybe modify it. So I can insert external link. So for example, external can be, so I can link directly to Google. And after when I
Yeah.
saved and I refresh my page, and now if I'm clicking on, I will be redirected to Google.
All right. So
So
I didn't see the link. Can you go back? Where's the test link you created?
so the test link is there.
Oh, what
So
was it on the
the
page?
data, in fact, the data of the navigation is there.
Oh, I did. Can you show me on the page? I didn't see it on the actual page. I can't see where your mouse is pointing. Okay.
So here, yeah, we have our test link into the navigations. But after the question is how I put my test link in this navigations, because
Ah,
now I know how modify it or create. Because if I would like to create a new one, like I don't know, if I would like to create a new one, I just need to right click on and create a new one. But now the question is how can I put a new link or remove a link? So in my case, I would like to remove maybe the resources one, for example. So for that, only one solution is to go to the settings, and here we have navigation settings is there. So I will lock and edit, and I'll scroll a little bit down, and here we have the client navigations and the candidate navigations. Very important to have both because into Adecco brand we have always client page and candidate page. So here you can set up different navigation for each different status. So here we can see test link and candidate resources. So if I would like to remove resources, I just need to put it back in the left. And if I'm saving now, it will be only visible. Yeah, this is one issue of Psycho for me. It's an issue is when you change settings, you have to publish it. So this is a little bit tricky because you have to be sure when you do some change. And so here I will do a publication. So yeah, sorry, I go a little bit fast. So here, when you need to publish, you go to the Publish tab, and here you click on the arrow. You don't click on the icon, you click on the arrow directly. You have Publish Item, and here I will click in Publish Item. So here you have different options like Smart Publish, Publish Sub-Item, Related Item. So this is, by default, we select these three. The republish is a little bit dangerous because it will just take more resources to the server. It will be longer for the server, and so by default we always use the smart publish. After sub item and related item, you have to be careful with that because, for example, if you want to publish a new version of your home page, you have to be careful because if you publish your sub item, you will publish in fact the whole website. And it's really not recommend to publish a null website because again, just crash the server, in fact. So when you publish some things, be sure, for example, if it's a home page, just remove the sub item and it will publish the home page, but not the sub item. So I think it's better to do in this way. It takes less resources for the server and it's faster too. So here we have a smart publish, publish sub item and publish a related item. And after we have a publishing languages, so normally you just have the list of your languages, but for me normally I have the whole one. And here I click in Polish, for example. Just wait. And I will publish it. So at the end we have the publishing targets. So by default I have the 4-1, so by default I'll select all these three. So if you have less, just select the one you have. And after you just need to click in OK and publish. You can see difference. So if you just click to see more, you can see here we just update a 24 element. It's depending on your server. And so finish. And normally, I hope. Here you go. And now if you want, in my URL, I don't have my resources item. So this is how manage navigations into Adecco website. So we have two different steps. The first one will be to set up all the links you need. So this is really important because else you will not find into the list. So first, you have to set up all the different links. And when you have set up your different link, just need to go to navigation settings and put it into the right column. So for multilingual websites, you just need, for example, here my test link or my test PL, for example, and I think the second languages is English UK here. So here I don't have version, this is logical. So we just add a new version for my English UK, and here I will put my test UK. And I just need to save it. And here normally we'll have my name different. No, this
Hi, Jimmy, you're breaking up.
sorry?
Oh, okay. I think you broke up for seconds. I don't know if you're saying something.
Oh.
Um,
So so here I have my test link, and you can set up for different languages, like I just said. Here you can have a here put test Poland, for example, and on other languages put the translations too. So this is all working. The translation is just, in fact, you just need to rename the elements by changing the flag on the corner right. But else, we can have different things like the fat menu section. So you can have a submenu for Adecco. This is a little bit new because nobody are using it for right now. But you have some demo into the Learn websites, into demo website. So here we have demo websites. And this is in fact a classical menu, and here we have the sub menu from Adecco. So this is all working. So the documentation is there too, but yeah, just to know, we have sub menu. So first, create your link or modify your link, and in the second way, just publish or change your navigation settings and publish it. So this is how modify your navigation. So only this link. So after, the question is about the header. So black one, and even the logo there. So normally the logo you don't need to change it, or you don't have the right normally to change it. But here we have header settings. And into header settings, we have different informations like the site logo, So here, for example, and after we have the URL when you click on this logo. So by default, all the website, when you click on the logo, you go back to the home page. And we have different information like the job sharing logo. So if you share your jobs to another brand, for example, you want to have your Adecco jobs into Spring. So you can just add your sharing logo, a specific logo for sharing. After we have our creator content, so some countries are using it to customize with some JavaScript and all the things. But all these websites who are doing this are slower websites. So, for example, I know Germany and France are doing this creator content by inject some JavaScript and CSS because this is really a creator content. And after when I go through um, to the performance, for example, I'm checking different information like all the different Adecco. Oh, it's not working. So here, for example, we have different information and we can see the France are the last one, and after we have Germany and Italy. And these three different brands are using the displayer with by inject some script. So be careful with script. I will come back tomorrow for explain more about script, but after we have used dynamic header, so by default for Adecco, this is checked because Adecco are using employer informations and candidate information, so that's why it is dynamic. We can display different iframe and sliding effect. So sliding effect is not useful for Adecco, but iframe is when you want to display a login box into your header. So some, I think maybe UK, yeah. Here, for example, this is a iframe, so you can put an iframe like that. I don't know if it's an iframe or maybe just a title, but yeah, you can integrate an iframe into your header in the um, black just there. Um, so after here we have the way to change the candidate link. So we have the first version is this, so switch to, and after we have the second version is a tab like that. So with the separate things. So for example, now if I'm changing it and save it, if my cache working, yeah, every time it's settings you have to push. And now I have my candidate tab and my employers tab. So this is where you need to change it. So after we have different informations when you display the header when the candidate is not logged in. So because with the iframes the candidate can be logged in. So here you have the different item you can put on the left side and into the right side. So here, like we can see, we don't have any link. We just have the save jobs header link, but else we don't have any links. So by default, for example, if I would like to add about us on the left side and contact us on the right side, I just need to double click on. And if I'm saving for settings, you have to publish and just refresh. So here we have our about us in the left side and contact us there. So this is our working the link into the header. You have exactly the same things for employer on the bottom. So this is where is save jobs. So this is save jobs header link. So here this is where you will just enable this functionality. We have our a field, so this is really important field if you want to use the functionalities to have employers and candidates. This is the page, an employers page you have to link. So the first one, no, so normally is slash employer, so it's depends in fact your country, but normally we have slash employer, and when you click on, this is the default page for employer. Here it's if your candidate is logged in. After we have employer sections, so navigation for employer, and to go back to candidate link when you are in employer sections. And normally after that, since you can add more a link for, but for Adecco brand, this is not really branded, in fact. So all these different options is not really branded for Adecco brand. And that's it. So there you have the different iframe you can put, iframe link you can put to have to the display to the website, into the header of the website. So the header, in fact, is really easy to use because we have different settings for candidate, different settings for employers, and after in each of these sections, you can have settings for the save jobs and the settings to switch to the candidate and employer tab. So it's really easy. Only thing is we have to go through all these different settings to understand in the better way. Uh, each time, if you need informations for the header, for example, you have this documentations of the header. So here, for example, we have the documentations. So really is useful. So we just explain all the different parts of the header. So after the header, normally we speak about the footer. So maybe, do you have any question about the header?
No, no, it makes sense.
Perfect. So we go through the footer. So the footer for Adecco is a little bit complex for one reason. So you need to have some HTML knowledge to modify it. So this is required because the footer of Adecco is built in HTML. So if I'm looking this, so by with maybe some change, you can just change the link. So by clicking on, and after here you have a can be here hyperlink manager. So here maybe you can change the link directly. But else, if you need to add more sections into this view, it can just break your HTML, so just be careful. So by default, we are using edit HTML, and it's really recommended to use edit HTML. And you will put all the different elements there. So we have a template by default. So this is a template by default. And after, we just need to bring some modification into it, and that's it. So yeah, there are no. I can ha no, I don't have documentation for that. I have a default. I think the default footer. Yeah, so this is a default footer I have, but that's it. So I don't have a magic trick for that. But here we can see two things very important: the default footer and the employer footer, because you can have two different footer, like the navigations and the header for employer and candidates. And for employers, footers work exactly in the same way as candidate for the HTML. So you need to edit your HTML. So here, for example, you edit your HTML and you put it into your employers. And that's it. And that's it. So So yeah, this is all working the different informations like header, footer, pages. So now, in fact, you need just to have some experience into Sitecore, so you need to train on that. So I hope you have a little bit time today to train on these different sections. So this is mean to modify a header, to modify a page, or create a page. To save it, publish it, to see if there are any issue. So this is really important for the different step in the future, because tomorrow we'll see more settings. So we have more issue on that. So this is mean we have the caching issue. So the caching is to help people to load the website faster. The issue of the caching is you have a whole version every time. So we have other issue after that. So it's really important to really know all these different steps to make sure to understand it. So I know I need some times, but it's really important. So after this navigation footer, can show you maybe a form, a basic form, for example. So so maybe you
Sorry,
have,
Jimmy.
yeah.
I got disconnected, and now I can't see.
Sorry?
I got disconnected,
Yeah,
and now I can't see
you
the
can't see
camera.
my screen? Oh yeah, we reshare it.
Okay, please, thank you. Oh yeah, nice.
So like I just said, this is really important to just to understand how works the different components and how works different item, just to make sure all these different step and all these different process into Sycor is is you know it in fact because this is like the easy part of Sycor is to have the pages, images, and different components. The more complicated part is more about marketing, about more the jobs, functionality, and all these different things. So yeah, I hope today you have a little bit time to train on that. Just to, if you tomorrow you have any questions, you can ask me on that. So yeah, so now we just see about I think is uh, so yeah, the form, just to see a worker form, because this is important to know for one reason, is because form is a basic function of Sycor, so this is the only one component who working correctly, like from Sycor perspective, in fact, because the form is, yeah, is just a basic component of Sycor. So to create a form, the best way to do is to directly go to the shared folder into the site data, and you have the form folder, and into it you can right click on and insert form. So by default you have the form folder, and if you don't have it into shared, you can insert, and here normally you will have the form folders too. So here we'll create no, a form. So I create my form like a classical component. And now I have to edit it. So to edit it, in fact, we are not using this view on the left or on the right side. We have a buttons is form designer under the form. So by default, it's activated. And here we just need to click on. And here, this is a way to build a form into Sycor. So here we click in add a new field. And for example, I can say email. So this is an email. So just to make sure to have the verifications behind, maybe subject. This is single line text, and this is require. And after maybe comment, and there I will put multiple line. So this is a basic form, but yeah, you can do many things you want. Like I can bring some password or dates, numbers, telephone, or all these different things. So one thing is not activate, so we'll just see later, is a file upload. So I will just explain you later. When you're done with your form, you need to click on submit to check, in fact, all the different settings. So into submit, we have first a form verification. So it's always like that. Um, so this is just security risk. So if you're the people we just fill the form is a robot, so Cycle we just block him, so we'll not access to submit the form. So after we have the save actions. Save action is very important because this is where you will save to the database, where you will send some email, for example. So here we have no action specified. We just need to edit it to change this. So I will just click in edit. You want to change? Yes. And here, by default, you have a scroll down with all different actions. So we have to save to the database. So I will add, yeah. And after we have a different email, so send an email message. Sorry, my computer just crashed.
It's okay.
Oh, here we go. So I don't know what's happened, but so here are my database, and after I can add a send email message, and I just add it. So after you can change the order, so move up or move down. And by default, the save to the database is the correct one. So this is important if you want to get the information after into the spreadsheet or so for the survey, for example, I'm using it for survey and it's very useful to have the save to the database. And after send email message is like the classical way when you just submit a form, it's to send an email. So you can send different emails. You can have many different ones. So it doesn't matter. Oh, that's by default. I'm used to have only one. Hope and this. So after you double click on, and you can have access to the email. So for example, I would like to send it to, for example, me. From maybe this is from the people who just insert information, the subject, and here I can insert field and comment. So this is a basic functionality, and after I would just set OK and OK. Oh, what's man? There we go. And when you're done, you just need to click in Save and Close. But before, we have some few options like the title, introductions, and footer for each different languages. So this is can be useful. I will just let it just to show you what it looks like. And when you're done, Save and Close. So now, so this is a component. So this is meaning we have to link it to an item. So we go through our test page. Where is my test page? Here. And I will do my presentation details. Like a spotlight, in fact, because all components work in the same way. So here are my different components into my page. I will edit it, controls, and on the bottom I have no, I will add, sorry. And this is Form, and this is a little bit different. Like I just said, this is not from Adecco groups. This is not a custom component. So we just remove collapse Adecco groups, and I will open modules. And here we have web form for marketer, and I will just select the form.
Okay.
So I will put content column and select. So this is a little bit different, but when you know after, it's easy. I double click on form to set up it because now, like for the Spotlight, I'll have to link my form to my site data form. So here I have my form ID. I will go through. And this is. And after, I just click in OK and OK and OK. I refresh my page, and normally, and now I have my my form with my different spotlight on the bottom and here. So here I have my form, and yeah, so this is already formatted. Like you see here, we have our title. So this is not really formatted. Like it's not really beautiful. But after, we have some things really interesting here. In fact, the header is like a warning message or something like that. So it can be very useful. And there we have yeah, bottom, like, I don't know, to prevent a user or something like that. You can even put some HTML inside and say, please read the, I don't know, the policy or something like that. You can put some HTML inside. So yeah, pretty good. So I will test it. Subject and comment. And after, I click in submit. And I have nothing because this is something I just forgot. When I go back to my form, here, for example, form designer, and I click in submit. Here we have success. So the success part is when the form is correctly filled, and what is the actions, in fact, after that. You have two options. You can redirect to a specific pages into Sidecar, or to show a message like I don't know, I don't know really. After, you can thank you for.
Yeah.
This is a success message. So I just forgot it, so that's why we don't see it. And after, normally it's working.
Okay. So how do you go about styling the heading? Would that be done with the CSS?
For the heading?
Yeah. So yeah, the form heading. So we got form training.
Yeah, this is just from this is from the branding, in fact. So when you had it, by default, you have this. And if you need to modify it, so this is it's working. So if you need to modify it, you have to go through your custom HTML to change it. So if you want to change the color and all these things, and so we'll see that tomorrow. But when you change CSS or JavaScript, normally, if you change some color or some display into the website, you have to get approval from the global marketing to make sure this is correct for the branding. So yeah, so I will explain better tomorrow, but yeah, we have this step when you try to modify the branding. So we have this form. So this is a classical form, and after, I will just show you another form is the upload form. Okay. So form upload. So this is very important to understand because we have many issues with many different countries. So here I will just click Inform Designer and put maybe email, and that's it. So, oh. And after I will put upload, but I don't select the file upload because this is not the correct one. This is the standard one, and we bring some more security into our custom file upload. So this is the one you have to use. So at first, we need to use the custom file upload browser only. So like this one. And the second one, it's depend in fact, but the second one by default we put hidden, and this one. So both elements have to be added to make the first one working, and the hidden one you just need to hidden. So this is because normally if you let both, you will have LinkedIn too. Is for example, if you need to have to get the resume on all these documents, I can do this type of form with this component because this component allow PDF and Word document and RTF everything, but not allow JPG, PNG, and all these different things. So it's only for resume and something like that. If you need something else for images, it's not possible for right now. So this is all working. So if you activate it, it will be LinkedIn, and if you not activate it, you have to put hidden and hidden.
Okay.
So into the documentation, it explains too. So into the save actions, we have a few difference. So add to database, and here this is not send email message, this is route email message, because we will bring in images attached documents to the email. So here I will edit it and to and here I don't need in fact to add upload or the hidden, because by default it will directly add my media file. So I just need to accept, and share my success message. Thank you. And that's it. So I will take my same page, but I will remove my last form because two different type of form can be in conflict. So that's why it's better to have only one type of form per page. Training. Presentations details, and here I will edit controls. I will take my form and remove it, and now I will add the new one is the form file upload, because I have a file into its content column. And I remove up, double click on form ID. And after, okay, and I refresh it. I have my email, test at Adecco.com. I choose the file. So this is PDF or Word document. Maybe into my document I have some things. Open it, and after I submit it, and that's it. And here I have my thank you message. And I should receive it. Oh no.
That seems like a place where it's quite good. The other way of doing it.
Yeah, maybe it takes a little bit times to show the email, but this is all working the reform with some file upload if you want to have some things like to download the resume or something like that.
Mhm.
So, like, so now this is about form. We're pretty done. So I don't know if you have any questions about the form or something like that.
Not really. I suppose it's just a matter of fact of probably doing one myself later.
Yep.
I've done one before anyway, so yeah, just do it probably another couple of times.
Yep.
But it all makes sense in terms of like adding components, the same steps, but then slightly different according to what component you're adding.
Exactly. Yeah.
The steps, but yeah.
So after like in the spotlight you can put HTML, so you can put iframe like YouTube for some photo or something like that. Um, yeah, and after I don't know what we can have. Yeah, that's it. So by default, we have the index sitemap and the content sitemap. So this is a file. So index sitemap, this is a file you need to share to your analytics. So if they ask you the sitemap.xml, this is the one you have to share. So in fact, this case is text. So when there's space, this is a dash. In fact, sitemap. So this is a sitemap for Adecco Poland for right now. So yeah, this is all working the sitemap. So normally you have these two different elements. We have a documentation of that because in fact in this sitemap, because like I just said, we will see it tomorrow, but we can create a microsite. So this is mean a site inside a site, like inception of site. So into each website we can have a content sitemap, and after the target of to have a content and index, the target is we have many different content sitemap, but we will link all the different content sitemap into one file, who is the index sitemap. So that's why we have both element, because into microsite we will add the content sitemap. So I don't have any more subjects for right now. I think yeah, you need a little bit to train, maybe to think about that, just to make sure you don't have question and all the things. Um, and yeah, tomorrow we'll see more. It's not complicated, but it's more Adecco things. This is only custom things. We'll see it tomorrow. So even if you have some knowledge in a Sitecore, it will not help. So yeah. So if
Yeah.
you have any questions, please be free to ask. And yeah,
All right. Yeah. No. I think that's probably about it for now for me.
okay,
That makes sense. Yeah. Hmm.
perfect. So I think we yeah, we can finish for right now. So we can train. You can train yourself, and if you have any question, even during the day, you can ask me by email, and else we can see it through. So at the beginning of the training, I can just respond to all the different questions,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's it.
Yeah. All right. Thank you
So
very much.
thank you. Have a good day.
Okay. Thanks. You too.
Bye.
Bye bye.